Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Tzadik Aleph Amud Beis, starting with Daf Tzadik Aleph Amud Aleph, 7 lines from the bottom. The Gemara had told us Rabbi Yehuda's shita is that one cannot shech the Karban Pesach for a yachid. Ask the Gemara, Rami le Rabbi Ukva bar Chinana miparishna le Rava. He asked Rava the following. Did Rabbi Yehuda indeed say that one cannot shech the Karban Pesach for an individual? V'raminu isha barishoin shoichtin aleh b'fnei atzmo. In regards to the Rishon, the Karban Pesach Rishon, it states over here that they can shech the Karban Pesach for a woman by herself as an individual. Ubesheni oisin oisot tfeila la'acherim. And for the Karban Pesach Sheni, they can make the woman join another group and shech the Pesach for her with that group. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. So we see over here that Rabbi Yehuda states in this brisa that one can shech a Karban Pesach for an individual woman. How can you have said before that you cannot shech the Karban Pesach for an individual? Omar le, Rabbi responds, Lo tema bifnei atzma, elo bifnei atzmon. You have to say that which he said over here in this brisa, that you can go ahead and shecht for an individual, it didn't mean an individual woman for herself, bifnei atzma, rather bifnei atzmon, for a group of women. Therefore, we can maintain that Rabbi Yehuda indeed holds, like we said before, that you cannot shecht a Karban Pesach for an individual. El Marley, but still he persists, and he asks Rava, Miavdin chabura shekula nashim. Do we allow a entire group made up of women as a chabura for Karban Pesach? V'hatnan states in the Mishnah, Ein oisin chaburas nashim va'avodim v'ktanim. The Sefer of our Mishnah states you cannot make a Karban Pesach for groups of nashim, avodim, and ketanim. My lav nashim lechudayu va'avodim lechudayu. Are we not talking about each one in their own groups of women or groups of ketanim or groups of avodim? And therefore, how can you say that it means to say that he will allow you to shecht for a Karban Pesach for a group of women? Answers the Gemara, Rava says, Loi. That's not the kavanah of our Mishnah. Noshim va'avodim v'ketanim. A group made up of women, avodim, and ketanim, that is prohibited to make a Karban shech the Karban Pesach for. Because nashim va'avodim mishum tiflus. Women and avodim, there's a potential for aveira. Ketanim va'avodim mishum pritzuso. And avodim with ketanim because of mishkav zochor. And therefore we don't allow the three together to form a group. Rather, with Nashim, however, from here we can see Nashim could form a group with children, with Ketanim. But the Avodim cannot form a group together with Nashim, and they cannot form a group together with Ketanim. Gufa, the Gemara brings back the previous statement and adds to it. Isha barishoin shoichtin, on top of Tzadik, Aleph Amud Beis. Isha barishoin shoichtin aleh b'fnei atzmo. A woman, by the Karban Pesach Rishon, you can shecht a Karban Pesach for her. And again, we define that to mean b'fnei atzmon, a group of women. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Ubesheni oisin osa betfeila la'acherim, di Rabbi Yehuda. And for the Karban Pesach Sheni, we allow a woman to join a group. In other words, when it comes to the Karban Pesach Rishon, so women are obligated. When it comes to Karban Pesach Sheni, then they have a reshus, and therefore they can join others, but you cannot make a group of Fnei Atzmon. Those are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Now the Brisa is now quoted in its entirety. Rabbi Yosi Oimer Isha b'Sheni Shoichne Alel b'Fnei Atzmo ve'ein Sorech Barishon. Rabbi Yosi argues and says that not only the Rishon, Karban Pesach Rishon, are women obligated, but also Karban Pesach Sheni, and therefore you can go ahead and shecht for them individually. Rabbi Shimon Oimer, Isha barishon oisin oiso tfeil lacherim. B'sheni ein sheichtin aleh kol iker. Rabbi Shimon says we only allow a woman to join a group for the Pesach Rishon because she has a reshus, but the Pesach Sheni, she's not shaykh to it at all, and therefore she can't even join it. We won't be able to eat from that because she's not considered to be those who are included in the Pesach Sheni. So it comes out in this brayso we have three different shitas. Again, the first shita is Rabbi Yehuda, who says that the Korban Pesach Rishon is a chiyuv. The Korban Pesach Sheni is a reshus for a woman. The shita of Rabbi Yossi, is the second shita, and says that a woman is obligated both in Korban Rishon and Korban Sheni. Rabbi Shimon says she has a reshus, and therefore she can be included in the first Pesach Rishon, but she's not shaykh at all to the Pesach Sheni. Ask the Gemara, my kamifli, what is the machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Shimon? Now the Gemara analyzes first the shita of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda sovar b'michsas nefashos. In regards to Korban Pesach, it says b'michsas nefashos, in the counting of the nefashos. Va'afilu noshim. Doesn't say anoshim, michsas anoshim. It says b'michsas nefashos. Nefashos concludes also women. Therefore, women are obligated in the Korban Pesach Rishon. V'chitein yosei ihochi afilu b'sheni nami. Since we say that in all matters of the Korban Pesach Rishon, the chukim apply also to the Korban Pesach Sheni. So therefore, let us suggest that that's also true with the Pesach Sheni. Says the Gemara, Ksiv chetoy yiso ha'ish hahu. Since it says in regards to the Korban Pesach Sheni that a man will carry his sin, ish in ishaloi. So in regards to the Korban Pesach Sheni, we have a diuk to say that only an ish will carry the sin, but a woman not, and therefore she's not obligated in the Pesach Sheni. V'chiten yosei ihochi, based on this latter pasuk, afilu tfeilanami b'sheni loi, that she can't even be included and joined with another group for the Pesach Sheni either. Where it says, ahani kekol chukas haPesach letfeila ba'alma. That pasuk that we referred to before by saying that in all matters of the chukim of the Pesach, the Korban Pesach Sheni has the same halachos as the Korban Pesach Rishon. That's enough to include the women as tefillah to be joined in a chabura with men for the Korban Pesach Sheni. That's the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda. Now the Gemara turns its focus to the sheet of Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi, my time, why does he say that women are obligated in both Rishon and Sheni? It says in the pasuk by Rishon, b'michsas nefashos, just like we learned before in Rabbi Yehuda. V'afilu isha. V'ksiv b'Pesach Sheni. In regards to Pesach Sheni, it says v'nichaso hanefesh hahi mi Yisrael. To teach me, we have a limud ultimately, not only from Korban Pesach Rishon, but also the Korban Pesach Sheni. Nefesh v'afilu noshim. Nefesh comes to say even including women, so women are also obligated in the Pesach Sheni. I asked the Gemara, yisa ish mai, but that which it states in regards to Pesach Sheni, isa ha'ish, what does he do? How does he use that ish to exclude? L'chara, as we saw in Rabbi Yehuda, excludes women, but he obviously doesn't exclude women. So what does he do and say? Does it come to exclude? Lemeute katan mikar. So it comes to exclude a katan, meish v'loy katan. That's the sheet of Rabbi Yossi. The Gemara now turns its focus to the third sheet in this brayso of Rabbi Shimon, who says that she can only be enjoined in another group for the first Pesach Rishon, because she only has reshus for the Rishon. She does not have a chayva. And in the second Korban, Pesach Sheni, she has no shaychis, and therefore she can't be included whatsoever. Rabbi Shimon Ksiv, where does he know it from? Barishon, ish. In regards to the Korban Pesach Rishon, it says the word ish. Ish in ishaloi. Now the Gemara is going to explain from where does he see the word ish, where is he darshaning that from. But al kapanim, he learns from the Pesach Rishon, it says ish to exclude isha, and therefore she doesn't have a chiyuv in Pesach Rishon. V'chiteima ihochi afilu b'tfeila nami loy. Then if she's excluded, then why should she have a reshus at all? We should say even tefillah not. Gemara says, "Ahani le b'michsas nefashos l'tefillah." Since it does say in regards to Pesach Rishon, b'michsas nefashos, in the counting of the nefashos, and therefore nefashos also includes women. Therefore, it's enough to say that she has a reshus to be enjoined to join together with another group for Pesach Rishon. V'chitein, you'll still say afilu b'sheni nami. So then say since she can be enjoined, then let's say she also can be enjoined in the second Pesach. As it says, Gechol Chukas HaPesach, which means that in the Korban Pesach Sheni has similar laws as it does in Korban Pesach Rishon. So if she has Rishus in the first Pesach, she should also have the Rishus to join in the second Pesach. Says the Gemara, no, Mi'it Rachmana B'Sheni. There's an exclusion by Pesach Sheni. It says in the Pasuk, Cheta Yisa Isha, we saw before, a man bears the sin. Ish in Ishaloi. Only a man and not a woman in the Korban Pesach Sheni. Mimai Kimaile. What is this coming to exclude? If it's coming to exclude only mechiyuv, an obligation, she's not obligated in the Pesach Sheni. Ask the Gemara, Hashta Barishon Loi, B'Sheni Miboy. If she's anyway doesn't have a chiyuv for the Pesach Rishon, since certainly she has a chiyuv for Pesach Sheni, we don't need that exclusion. Elalamit Tfeila, rather must be for Tfeila. And therefore, that's the sheet of Rabbi Shimon to say that she doesn't have any shaykhis at all, not even as a tefillah for Korban Pesach Sheni. Now, ask the Gemara on Rabbi Shimon, that which he used before, make a drasha from Rishon, from the word ish. Where did that come from? My ish to come Rabbi Shimon. Asked the Gemara, which ish in the pasuk was he referring to? Name of Vayichulahem ish se lebeis avois v'goymer. If he's using for the word ish from that pasuk in regards to Korban Pesach Rishon, Hahumi Boyle like Rabbi Yitzchak. We already need it for Rabbi Yitzchak's drasha as follows: Domer ish zoiche vein katan zoiche. When it comes to matanos as a shaliach, or it comes to some other kinyanim that the shaliach will do on one's behalf, it has to be an ish and not a katan, as opposed to v'chayichu ish se lebeis avos. So therefore, that cannot be that he's using the word ish to exclude women. We already need that to exclude a katan from making a shliach. Ve'ela mi ish lefi achloi. Rather, it must be from the word ish lefi achloi. And ask that, the Gemara now challenges that. If that's the case, ha mid Rabbi Yosi savar lo Rabbi Shimon. We saw on Amud Aleph that Rabbi Yosi follows the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. He explains over there that the pasuk that says be'achal, when it says in the pasuk lo sucha lisbaches hapesach be'echad l'sharecha, he learns that pasuk like Rabbi Shimon, that's coming to say that if a person were shecht a korban pesach earlier than chatzos, then although he's not going to be chayiv a kares, he'll be chayiv a lav, as it says in this pasuk be'echad sharecha. So the Gemara says, if that's the case, that we saw Rabbi Yossi holds like Rabbi Shimon, so then Rabbi Shimon nami saw like Rabbi Yossi, it must be that Rabbi Shimon also holds like Rabbi Yossi. Because, after all, the reason why Rabbi Yossi said that he cannot hold from this pasuk, lo sucha lesbach es hapesach be'echad l'sharecha, like Rabbi Yehuda, that be'echad comes to say, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that you cannot shech the korban pesach for an echad. So Rabbi Yossi's response is, I cannot learn like that, because it says in the pasuk, ish lefi achloi, and therefore there's an individual that you can shech the korban pesach for. So perforce, since that's the mistaber type of, so it must be that Rabbi Shimon, not myself like Rabbi Yossi, that Rabbi Shimon goes like Rabbi Yossi's shita, that ish lefi achlo is also teaching me that you can go ahead and shecht a korban pesach for a yachid. So the Gemara says, since that's the case, that Rabbi Shimon must hold also like Rabbi Yossi, then so you can't say that ish lefi achloi will be then using ish v'lo isha, because here we have it for ish lefi achloi to teach me that you can shech the korban pesach for a yachid. So it can't be coming to exclude a woman. Omar loch, he'll say to you, Rabbi Shimon will say to you, im nichtoiv rachmana lefi achloi my ish. Granted, it says lefi achloi, but it says ish lefi achloi, and therefore shmas mina tarti. I can learn both things. The fact that it says lefi achloi, that's coming to teach me that you shech the korban pesach for an individual, like Rabbi Yossi taught. The fact that it says ish lefi achloi, the word ish comes to exclude a woman. Now ask the Gemara, Kaman azlo hodam Rabbi Elazar. Like who does the following statement of Rabbi Elazar go? Isha barisha in chayva b'sheni rishus v'doches haShabbos. It says Isha is obligated in the Rishon, Korban Pesach Rishon. The second Korban Pesach is only a rishus, and is doiche es HaShabbos. Frek the Gemara, I reshus, amai doiche es HaShabbos. Granted, a korban Pesach, when it's a choiv, is doiche es HaShabbos. When Yudal comes out to be on Shabbos. But when it's a reshus, why would it be doiches HaShabbos? Ella ema b'sheni reshus uberishon choiva v'doiches HaShabbos. Rather, you have to change the order of the language. That he said the second korban Pesach is reshus, the first korban Pesach is a choiva, and since it's a choiva, it's doiches HaShabbos. Now, ask the Gemara, come on, who does this statement go like? Answers the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda. Like Rabbi Yehuda said, that the first Korban Pesach is a choiv for women, the second Korban Pesach is a reshus. Rabbi Yaakov, Rabbi Yochanan, he makes the following statement: Ein oisin chabura shekula gerim. You cannot make a chabur that consists completely of gerim. Why? Maybe they will be daktek and be machmir on the korban, and they'll find a psul which is really not there. Tosfos points out, although our Gemara shows that the gerim are medaktekim, but Tosfos points out b'shem Yerushalmi that it's the opposite. That the Yerushalmi has a girsa acheres and says that they are not medaktekim, and therefore, because they're not medaktekim, they're not b'nei Torah. Therefore, they will then bring to a psul. Al kopanim, our Gemara's mashma that you can't include them entirely in one group, and for the reason is because they're medaktik and they'll find a psul that way. The Gemara now brings the following brisa: Tanu Rabbanon, Pesach umatzah umaror barishoin choiva mikan ve'elach reshus. Pesach matzah umaror. The first night is choiva, mikan ve'elach reshus. Rabbi Shimon oimer ba'anoshim choiva uvenoshim reshus. Rabbi Shimon says men are obligated. Women, it's a reshus. The Gemara now asks, ahei koi, that which is stated in the second part of the Tanakama, mikan ve'elach reshus. After the first night, it's a reshus. What is it referring to? Ilema bePesach. If it's referring to the Pesach, Korban Pesach, Pesach or Shiva Mi'ika, there's no such thing as having a Korban Pesach beyond the first night. Elo ve'elo amatzo or more. Must be that the Tanakama is saying mikan ve'elach reshus for matzah or more. If that's the case, says the Gemara, Masechet, Rabbi Shimon oimer ba'anoshim choiv v'noshim reshus. That presumably Rabbi Shimon is arguing on that and saying men have a choiva, but women have a reshus. Ask the Gemara, women have a reshus when it comes to. Rabbi Shimon. The Gemara says in Masechet that Rabbi Shimon is arguing and saying ba'anoshim choiv v'noshim reshus, referring back to the first night. So the Gemara is asking, does that mean to say that the first night women are not obligated in the matzah? Ask the Gemara, Leslie, Rabbi Shimon, Hodam, Rabbi Elazar, he doesn't hold what Rabbi Elazar said. Noshim chayavois ba'achilas matzah dvar Torah. The women are obligated mid-di'araisa to eat matzah on the first night of Pesach, just as men are. Shenemar says in the pasuk, Lo soichal alav chametz shivas yamim toichal alav matzos. Toichal alav chametz shivas yamim toichal alav matzos. You shall not eat chametz. And the pasuk just opposes and says right afterwards, for 7 days you shall eat matzos. Kol sheyeshno bebal toichal chametz yeshem bekom as achol matzah. All those who are included in the prohibition of eating chametz, which is the ratio of the pasuk, the hemshech of the pasuk then obligates them also equally to eat matzah. So we see that women indeed are chayev. V'hani noshim choyev yeshem bebal toichal chametz yeshem bekom echol matzah. Since women are obligated in chametz, they have the prohibition of chametz, the isur of chametz. Then they have also, therefore, the requirement midiaraisa, the chiyuv to eat matzah. Ella says the Gemara, you're right. Ema pesach matzah amor barishon chayva mikan ve'elach reshus. The Tanakama, as we quoted before, says pesach matzah amor. The first night is a chayva. After that, it's a reshus. On that, we say Rabbi Shimon is not arguing on the first night, but on the hemshech. Rabbi Shimon says, Oimer, Pesach, Rabbi Shimon is arguing on the first night, but he's not arguing on matzah or more, but rather, Rabbi Shimon Oimer, Pesach, be'anoshim choiva, B'nashim reshus. On that, Rabbi Shimon argues that on the first night, Pesach is merely a chayva for men, but Rabbi Shimon says for women it's a reshus. This is Rabbi Shimon l'shitosoi, who says the first Pesach Rishon is a reshus for a woman. The second Pesach Sheni is not even shayich to a woman at all.